Hey, hi. This is gonna be a very awkward video to film because I made things difficult for myself. So, talking about reading of last month, January. I'm still January as filming this. I haven't read all of the books yet, but I'm pretty confident of pretty happy of how things are going. So we are not talking about those books. If there's any book that I do not read, I will talk about it on my January warp up, and I will push it to February. But probably won't be needed because it's just wait for the warp up. Okay, you just wait and you will see why I'm talking about. I'm doing this because I have piles of books in front of me. Why do I have piles of books in front of me? Because I wanted to do something different for February. I thought February is the month of where there's Valentine's Day, and I wanted to do something with my boyfriend. Now we cannot I cannot like do a fancy video. I cannot have him here because he's in England and I haven't seen him for more than a year, and I'm gonna kill somebody if I don't see him soon. Anyway, but I went on a very simple route and I let him pick my TBR. Now he had to pick this. I couldn't film him picking. There wasn't a way for me to be able to do it, and you guys know we are very lazy people here. We do not do editing. Ain't nobody got time for that. So you guys just have to trust me. I'm just gonna let you guys know how things went. I wanted him to choose 10 books from me. So he's not a reader. He is a gamer. And he kind of knows because he also gives me the books that I am interested in, all of that. But he doesn't actually know where I am on my series. How do I structure things? So what I did was I gave him a list with 10 points and 2 books per point, and he had to choose one of those 2 books for each point. And that covered the physical books that I have in front of me. That covered the classics that I will be reading and the books that I will be reading from Open Library. Now, let's start for the only book that you guys know that I will be reading already, because it's the book for Read Your Bookshelf challenge. That's it. For February, the challenge was to read a book with red on the cover, and I already told you guys that I will be reading Through a Glass Darkly by Carleen Cohen. This is a big one. This is a historical romance, families, drama. I don't know exactly what happens here, but we shall find out and talk about it later. So this, I'm gonna take this brick from here. This is the one that you guys already know that I was gonna be reading. Let's put this one to the side. And now let's talk about the others. I will start by the ones that I do not have prompts in front of me, so I had them pick me 2 classics, and I asked him to choose between a Dickens book, so I would be reading Bleak House by Dickens or Little Dorrit, and he chose Bleak House. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know anything about any of those. Just found the name neat, and then I had them choose from Villette by Charlotte Bronte or Cranford. Again, he didn't know much about anything else. Come from by Elizabeth Gaskell, and he chose Cranford. So those will be the 2 classics that I will be reading. So Bleak House by Charles Dickens and Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. Now, from the books that I will be reading on Open Library, I gave him 3 books. It was only 3. Yeah, he only had like to choose 3 in between 6 books, so 3 books in total. And for the first pair that he had to choose was either Sovereign by C.J. Sanson. This is the 3rd book on the Matthew Shardlake Saga collection series. Again, I do not know what this one is about. I never know what they are about. But Matthew Shardlake is a lawyer in Tudor times, and he's a hunchback. In the first one, Dissolution was about murder that happened on a monastery, and again about the dissolutions of the monasteries. Second book was Darkfire that I read this month. It had also a murder, and unrelated to it, it had like a mystery with Darkfire or Greek fire, the supposed chemical that burns even on water, that was used against some ships on some ancient wars, and it's lost. But that technology is lost to us at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's lost. So the next one will be the number 3, the Sovereign, and it will be in the choice that I had was between that one and A Plague on Both Our Houses by Susan Gregory, and this is the first one on the Matthew Bartholomew series, because a Matthew against a Matthew. And what I know about this one, it is about a doctor, plague times, mysteries, and medieval times, of course, and it's all I know. He found that the name A Plague on Both Our Houses was a good name, so that's what I will be reading. Next choice was in between The Lady of Rivers by Philippa Gregory. This is the first one on her Plantagenet and Tudor novels, and I only know that it's about the daughter of some person from Luxembourg that marries a English duke or something. I don't really know much about it. I know that I want to read this series, and I wanted to start at the end because we all know that the most famous book on this series would be the one about King Henry and Anne Boleyn and Mary Boleyn, but I wanted to start at the beginning. I know that you don't need to, but I want to, so I don't know much about this one. And the choice was in between The Lady of the Rivers and Fell. Fell is the second one on the side duology by David Clement Davis, and it is following the story of the brother of the protagonist of the first one, being the first one the site. This is with wolves on Transylvania, magic, fantasy, very enjoyable. But well, my boyfriend saw Tudor and he knows that I love the Tudors, so he chose for me The Lady of the Rivers. The last choice that he had from the Open Library books was in between The Seventh Son. This is the first book on the tales of the Elven Maiden by Orson Scott Card. The only thing that I know about this is that it's a story of the seventh son of a seventh son that has magical powers, and it's by the same person. It's written by the same person that wrote the Elder's Game. So I don't know more about it. So Seventh Son versus The King Must Die by Mary Renaud, and this is a retelling of the Theseus myth. And the choice was The King Must Die. So at the moment, from the books that I do not have prompts for February, what I will be reading is Bleak House by Charles Dickens, Scramford by Elizabeth Elizabeth Gaskell. A Plague on Both Our Houses by Susan Gregory. The Lady of the Rivers by Philippa Gregory. And The King Must Die by Mary Renault. Those are the first 5 books. The other 5 are here in front of me, and I will be showing you the choices, the several choices that we have. I wanted to give him non-fiction for him to choose from, because January is very weak on non-fiction. I'm still trying to put at least one non-fiction book, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able. So it may be a book, a month without non-fiction, and because I do not have many on my shelves, as we know. And the choices were a book about the story of Rome. This is a Portuguese translation, and it was written by Carl Greenberg. So, Rome, this is from the origins till the formation of the empire, versus The Butchering Art. This was by Lindsay Fitzharris, and is Joseph Lister's quest to transform the grisly world of Victorian medicine. Lindsay Fitzharris is also a YouTuber, and those were the choices for non-fiction, and he picked The Butchering Art, so this is the one I will be reading. Now, places to put books. The next couple of books that I gave him to choose was The Tales of the Peculiar by Rhys and Riggs. This is the tales featured on the Miss Peregrine House of Peculiar Children. This is the book like with the tales they have on that universe. They do have this book. I think they have 3 volumes or something, 2 or 3 volumes of those tales, and they read. I really love this edition. It's just amazing, and it's also illustrated, so pretty against the book called Midnight over Sanctaphrax by Paul Stewart and Chris Rindle. This is the 3rd one on the Edge Chronicles. This is the first trilogy, the end of the first trilogy of the Edge Chronicles. It is the Twig trilogy. So the next one is about Twig's father. And with these 2 choices, his choices was The Midnight over Sanctaphrax. So I'm gonna be finishing the Twig trilogy from the Edge Chronicles. What is this about? I do not know what this particular one is about. I know that this is a world where things float. There's floating roxes and air pirates and lots of crazy creatures. And this thing is illustrated also by Chris Rindle, that I love. And I'm trying to find a good illustration to show, but of course I cannot find it now. Here's like some of the creatures. This is a very, very easy read and very fun. This book always very fun, so I'm pretty happy about this one. Next, I had him choose about some naval piracy fantasy books, basically, being the first one. The Curse of the Blue Tattoo by E.L. Mayer. This is the 2nd on the Bloody Jack series. I've read the first one and loved it. First one was about Jack, that it's a girl that started on the slums of England, if I'm not mistaken. It was England. How she went to work on a ship and how she had her first contact with pirates. I'm not exactly sure. I need to check if by the end of the first book. I do not think that she is a pirate, but I know that as this series progresses, she will end up being a pirate. I'm not sure. I think she still is not a pirate. But loved it, and I was pretty pumped up I'm pretty pumped up to be reading this, but the other book there was the choice was The Red Wolf Conspiracy by Robert V. S. Reddick, and this is the first one of a series of 4 books about this huge ship that apparently has a girl that is supposed to be marrying someone important, and this ship is going to disappear or something like that. I really don't know. I really don't remember at the moment. Anyway, these were the choices when it came to like naval fantasy piracies. What did he choose? He chose the Red Wolf Conspiracy. I am pleased with it because I really want to start reading this, and I do have the rest of the books. This is not that big, but they get bigger and bigger as we go. Okay, let me put this there. Next book that it was next couple of books that I gave him to choose was in between Blood of the Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is the first one of The Witcher after like the 2 anthologies. What is this about exactly? I don't know. It's The Witcher. The second one that I gave him to choose on this was The Guild of the Magicians or the Wizards. Let me check because this is a Portuguese copy and I'm not exactly sure. The Magicians Guild. The Black Magician Trilogy. This is the book 1 from the Black Magician Trilogy by Trudy Canavan. I had started this long ago. So, magicians, they are going to purge a city, and then there's a girl that apparently... She's starting to snore, I'm sorry. A girl that apparently goes against it, and The Witcher. Yeah, he chose The Witcher. Because he knows I love Jaskier, so he's like, yeah, The Witcher because the bard. And I'm like, I'm okay with it. Next one and last finally choice was I gave him 2 books. I mean, it's 4 books, but I'm counting them as 2 books basically to choose from with him. So 2 vampire books for him to choose. This one is a duology. This is 2 books, but this is the Portuguese copy, and I know this is from Germany, and I don't think that this was translated to English. So I'm gonna count this as 1 book because I do think that it was made 2 books in Portuguese, but I think that this was 1 book in Germany, and it is The Chronicles of the Immortals from Wolfgang Holbein. The volume 1 is supposed to be the Abysm, and the volume 2 the Vampire. I'm not taking this has a sleeve. I'm not taking them from the sleeve because the sleeve is prettier than the covers. The Portuguese covers are trash. So and I'm counting this as 1 book since I think that it was 1 book in Germany. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's not, but I think so. It was this against The Queen of the Damned, that it was by Anne Rice, of course. It was 1 book in his original English production, and now she's snoring really loud. I'm gonna try to finish this. But in Portuguese it's 2 books with very bad covers, as you guys can see. Awful covers. I think this is like the 90s cover that we had here in Portugal. So the choice was in between those 2. This one I haven't even told you what it was about. This is supposed to be vampires. I think it's supposed to be historical fiction on the times of the Vlad of the Impaler, of how a certain vampire that I'm not even sure if he is supposed to be Vlad or not. became a vampire, and this is the third book on the vampire series of Anne Rice, following the vampire Lestat. I don't think I need to say more about this one. And what did he chose? He chose the Queen of the Damned because he was like, oh, this is following the vampire series. Like, yeah, that one. I even told him that this was also vampires. And he's like, no, the other one. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. We put this here. I'm fine with it. So the physical books that I will be reading is like the Queen of the Damned. That it's 2 books, but it's basically one. The Butchering Art, Midnight at Sanctaphrax, the Sanctaphrax, the Red Wolf Conspiracy, and Blood of the Elves. So this pile that I will try to show you guys is a pile now picture. The other 5 books that I have that already told you guys before this, and the other book, the Buzzword Challenge, that if the video is not out when you see this, it's gonna be out next, because I want you guys to choose a book for me to read for the Buzzword Challenge. And that's all for now, guys. Bye bye.